I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on contractions. And before we start with our lessons on contractions, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, and then grade 2. Once we've selected the subject of language arts, grade 2, then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of contractions. All right. So our chapter is contractions. Our subject is English, which is language arts, grade 2. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of contractions is to form pronoun verb contractions and to form contractions with not. And there are going to be quite a few lessons under the chapter of contractions, but we're basically only going to focus under these two. We're just going to focus on these two lessons for, let's say, for today. All right. So, contraction. A contraction is a shortened A contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? So it is a shortened form of two words, and we basically use an apostrophe, right? That little punctuation mark over there to show where one or more of the letters have been left out. And remember, when you leave out a letter, you do not, if you leave out more than one letter, you do not put more than one apostrophe. So we only leave out, like we only put one apostrophe, even if you leave out more than, let's say, two or more letters, for example. And we can basically form a contraction from a pronoun as well as from a verb. So we are doing contractions. And now we're going to be focusing on form pronoun, verb contractions, as well as to form contractions with the word not. And if we look at examples, right, of contractions, for example, if we look at the word I am, so I am is two words, right? I being the pronoun, am being the verb, right? So we basically have to put those two words together. And then whatever letters we're going to be leaving out, we're going to put an apostrophe in its place. So for example, if we say I am, I being the pronoun, am being the verb, once we shorten these two words, our pronoun is going to stay the same. So I is going to stay the same. But now we're going to leave out the A. We're going to put an apostrophe in its place and we bring down the M. So now we say I'm instead of I am. So we say I'm 9 years old or 8 years old. Right? So instead of saying I am 9 or 8 years old, we can say I'm 9 years old. And I'm is basically a shortened word for the word I am. So I'm stands for I am. Now, if you look at another word, it says you will. So you will. And if we basically shorten these two words by making it one word, remember we said our pronoun, it stays the same. But now we're going to shorten this word, right, by leaving out the W and we leaving out the I, and we put an apostrophe in its place and we bring down the L's. So now we have our word you'll, which stands for you will. So you will pass your test or you'll pass your test. So if we form a contraction by using, or if we form a contraction from the pronoun as well as the verb, then our pronoun stays the same, which is you or I, it stays the same. And then we basically shorten our verb. Yes, wonderful. So instead of saying, I am 7, you said I'm 7. So wonderful. So well done. That is correct. So I'm 7 instead of saying I am 7 because I'm stands for I am, but it's just a shortened form of that word or shortened form of two words. And then we also have a contraction, right? Where we use um, the word not. So, for example, it says a contraction, once again, a contraction is a shortened form of two words, like we said, and we put an apostrophe to show either where one or more than one letter have been left out. So the apostrophe either shows where one or shows where more than one letter is left out. And in this case, right, remember over here, we said here the apostrophe, the contraction is formed from a pronoun as well as a verb, and our pronoun stays the same and we change the verb. But over here, it says a contraction can be formed from a verb as well as the word not. So the verb, which is the action, and the word not. And in most of the contractions with the word not, the spelling of the verb does not change, which means that the spelling of the verb is going to stay the same, but we are going to remove the O from the word not. And then once we remove the O from the word not, then we are going to put an apostrophe in the place of the O that we're going to remove. For example, is not. So is not, right? So this is a verb and this is our word not. So we see that the verb, it stays the same. So we bring down our verb and we said we are removing the O, right? So we bring down the N, we're removing the O, and in the place of the O, we put our apostrophe and we bring down our T. So now it says isn't. So is not stands for isn't. So he isn't or he is not 8 years old. He is 7 years old. He isn't 7. He is 8. So whenever in this case, right, when we form contractions with the word not, then we are forming the contraction with the verb as well as the word not. So the verb is going to stay the same, but we are going to remove the O from the not and put an apostrophe in its place. And then we basically put all of those words together. Okay. And then we have the contraction, which is can't. And the contraction, which is can't, is special. And the contraction can't is short for cannot. I can't play soccer. So it's the same as saying I cannot play football. So I can play football. It's the same as saying I cannot play football. And when we say that is special, it's because cannot has got two ends, right? And they basically show that we only remove the O But in this case, we're going to have to remove the N as well as the O. So basically, to make the contraction, we are going to have to drop the letters, which is both N as well as O, and put an apostrophe in its place. So we have cannot, and we need to get to the word can't. It means that we're going to drop the N, drop the O, bring down these letters, which is can, apostrophe, can't. And then another contraction which we call, or which we say is special, is the word won't. Because it's as if the word has changed. Because if we say, I will not take out the trash. So I will not take out the trash. Then you basically say, I won't take out the trash. But if we shorten this word, right, won't is very far from will not, especially the letters. So in this case, the spelling of the verb then changes. And if we look at a few more examples of contractions, so these are a few common contractions in English, right? For example, our word aren't, and aren't means are not. So aren't, the words basically means are not. And then here we have I'm, and we made an example of this earlier on where we said I am is shortened for the word I'm. I'm 7 or I am 7. If we, for example, say that is yours, then we can just say that's yours. And as we can see, the pronoun that stays the same. We only remove the I from the verb, which is is. And then we made an example of the word cannot, right? Which we said is special. And cannot stands for can't, right? And here we had to drop both the N as well as the O, then put the apostrophe in its place in order for us to form the word can't. Then I have. Then we can just say I've. I have. I've. There is. It's like saying there's. There is 5 girls in class. So we can say there's 5 girls in class. I did not do that. So I did not do that. That's like saying I didn't do that. Then we have is not. It is not cold outside. It's like saying it isn't cold outside. We are going to the beach. It's like saying we're going to the beach. So we are going to the beach. Shorten that word. We say we're going to the beach. Do not open the fridge, for example. Don't open the fridge. Let us play outside. It's the same as saying let's play outside. So let us play outside. Let's play outside. So here also we can say, what is your name? Or we can shorten that word and say, what's your name? So these are basically just a few common contractions in English, right? And we see the contraction is a shortened form of two words. An apostrophe, it shows where either one or more of the letters have been left out. So we can either form a contraction from either a pronoun and a verb, or we can form a contraction from a verb or the word not. Right? And we are doing our tutorial lesson on A plus students dot ca. So now we're going to A plus students dot ca. And we see that we're only doing two of the many lessons that we have under the chapter of contractions. So now we're going to the first one, which is to form pronoun verb contractions. And remember, we said a contraction is a shortened form of two words. And we're using apostrophe to show where one or more of the letters are left out. And we basically formed our contraction, right, from a pronoun as well as a verb. And when we form our contraction with the pronoun and the verb, the pronoun isn't going to stay the same, but our verb changes. All right. And we made an example of I am 7, for example. So instead of writing both of those words, we can just say I'm 7. All right. So now if we look at this word, it says type the contraction that matches the word. So we're going to now type the contraction that matches the words. He will. So he will, remember we said that our pronoun stays the same, which is he. And then when it comes to will, right, we're going to remove the W, we're going to drop the I, we put the apostrophe in its place, and we bring down the double L. So he'll, which also means he will. If we look at another one, it says she is. She is. And what did we say stays the same? So now we see that our pronoun, it stays the same, which is she. So we can bring down our she. And then our word is, right? Our word is. We're going to drop the I in is with an apostrophe in its place. And we bring down our is. So it is she's going for netball practice. So she's or he is, it's going to be the same. Then it will be he's. He is means he's. So once again, a contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? And whatever words we leave out or we remove, right, we put an apostrophe in its place to show where that one or two letters have been removed. And once again, if you remove two letters, you don't put two apostrophes, we still just add one apostrophe just to show that letters or a letter was left out over there. So she's is an example. I am, I'm, you will, you. All right. Let's go into another one. So they are, right? If we look at the word they are, so we have our pronoun, which is they, and we have a verb over here, right? So what did we say? If we have a contraction which shows that we are forming two words, the shortened word of two, shortened form of two words, then it means that our pronoun is going to be the same, which is they. So they are. So which means that what we're going to do is we only remove the A from the word are, put the apostrophe in its place, and there we have they are. Right? All right. So now let's go to our test. So we're going to the test, right, where we are going to be forming pronoun verb contractions. So you're going to look at the two words and then you're going to choose the correct word from the answers. We need to type the contraction that matches the word. They will. So they will. Is they will shortened for they'll, or do we leave it the same as they will? So they will, is it shortened for they'll? So they will, right? And if we choose the correct contraction, then we will say it is they'll. So they'll. Yes, and they'll is correct. She is. So she is. Do we say she's, or do we say she's with an apostrophe at the end or after the S? So which one is correct? The first one or the second one? So we say she is, and if we shorten that word she is, then we will we will use the word she's. So she's, and not the apostrophe that is outside. So he will. He will. We need to find the contraction that matches the word he will. So he will is our second option, which is he'll. And he'll is correct. So they are. And if we look at the contraction or the shortened form of the word they are, then we will go with the second option, which is there. And there is correct. All right, so now we're going to form contractions with the word not. So we need to shorten these words, find the contractions of the word were not. So were not. How do we shorten that word were not? We see that our verb stays the same. So this verb stays the same, which is were. And then not changes because we're going to drop the O, put the apostrophe in its place, and then our T. So weren't. So weren't. Were not, weren't. All right. So was not. Was not. We need to type the contraction of the word was not. And was not, our word was is going to stay the same. You're going to drop the O, then put your N apostrophe T. And there we have our word wasn't. So was not, which is wasn't. Right? So now let's go to our test where we are going to be forming contractions with the word not. And remember, when we form contractions with the word not, we basically just remove the O and put an apostrophe in that place, right? So we need to type the contraction that matches all the words. For example, do not. So do not. Remember, we see that the verb do stays the same and not changes by us removing the O or dropping the O and then putting the N apostrophe and T together. So do not, do we say do not is do not, or do we say it's don't? We didn't do were not. Oh, sorry. So do not. So we need to find the contraction that matches the word do not. So do not, and then we can say it is don't. And don't is correct. So do not or did not. All right. So do did not. And if we shorten that word did not, then we'll get didn't. So did not, it's didn't. So did not means didn't. Sorry, were not is like saying weren't. So did not, we say the shortened form of did not is didn't. So did not, it's like saying didn't. Because there we have our word did and not next, so it's just that we remove the O. So the contraction that matches the word did not, we said it is didn't. And didn't is correct. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson. Grade twos, and we see the contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? So it's like shortening the word, right, to make it one word. So we use the word did not. So we're going to the first one, which is to form the pronoun verb contractions. No, actually, we did that already. So now we are actually at the end of our lesson on contractions, grade 2. Thank you very much for joining our class. Remember, a contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? That we basically make into one word. Whatever letter or letters we leave out or remove, we put an apostrophe in each place. Right? So we say that a contraction is a shortened form of two words, and when we basically put those two words together, becomes one word. Whatever word or letter we don't use, we remove it and we put an apostrophe in its place. So thank you very much, grade twos, for joining the class, and I really hope you had a good day today. Goodbye.